Welcome to Below the 49th, the perspective on my neighbor to the south, below the 49th. I'm Michael A. Charbon. Today's title, Culture, Race, Arsonists. As I'm watching cable news, a prominent African-American commentator states, they're taking the vote away from black people. They're hijacking your democracy. The voting rights issue is the greatest threat to America's democracy. Other media pile on, stating blacks are oppressed and victimized by a society funded on and which remains systemically racist. An America ruled by racist police, where African Americans are destined to poverty, as a deep plot exists to disenfranchise all people of color. It's a critical race theory, blaming white America as the oppressors. Blacks are always oppressed. White corporate America, the government, the whole judicial system, all law enforcement, and the white supremacists of the red political party. And you misguided historians? Yeah, y'all got it wrong. America really started in 1619. Do you know? These cultural racist arsonists set fire to America, and they divide on class lines with hatred and division. Ironic, as many of these black elitists who are wealthy, successful, and live in affluent neighborhoods with doorman condos, peddle their opinions to sell books or be regarded as civil rights warrior experts on TV. By the way, Patrice Cullors, which real estate investment are you living in now with all those lives dollars that really didn't matter? What really mattered was your retirement, it seems. Marxism's great, isn't it? Many of these civil rights leaders appear at every police shooting, and before the facts even come out, stand behind a microphone, eulogizing to the crowd, promoting a cultural war, suggesting promises and problems that divide, all the while with the objective to get their face on TV and deposit the cable news contribution fee. You know, like pharmaceutical monopolies? They're not all interested in a cure, they're interested in repeat customers. This cocktail of dissent and divisive nation destroying is now from within. This is the greatest threat to America's democracy. Oh, the plot thickens as the party close to the socialists needs to feed the seeds of discontent. Like a narcotic, the addiction to government money just grows. Government and thicker bureaucracy increases budget, supports the doling out of more free stuff, and yeah, higher taxes. Yeah, but that's just for the rich. They're all going to pay for that, don't you know? You know, funny how history repeats itself. Another great society fed their people free bread, making its people dependent. Then debt grew, taxes grew, which in the end toppled the empire as the masses revolted. Sound familiar? As the current administration promises of rainbows at the ends of tens of trillions of economic affirmative action. Why, let's give billions only to black-owned businesses. Preferred federal funding to schools which only teach critical race theory. 6 trillion here, 5 trillion here, and campaign promises, you know, trillions in debt spending, while little transportation Pete smiles with his unique definition of what infrastructure is. Then the wonderful uniting statements from the leader of the free world, like, the data shows young black entrepreneurs are just as capable of succeeding given the chances white entrepreneurs are. They don't have lawyers, they don't have accountants, but they have good ideas. What? America has thousands of black lawyers, and they have white clients too, I'm just saying. So, just so I have this straight, as one good friend says, he's saying there's no African-American lawyers or accountants out there who can work with young black entrepreneurs? That sounds like a huge insult to me. Can you imagine if that was said a year ago? Why, the demonstrations would have burned down and looted half of America. Oh, but it gets better. He also says government has to give them the backbone and support of the state. What a load of malarkey. Minority business owners have lots of backbone, conviction, and work ethic. There are tremendous amounts of industrious, hardworking black entrepreneurs who made it on their own with hard work, just like any other successful business person. These are statements that divide and point to government dependence. Just like every African-American medical and legal student who made it to university. You know what they got to deal with? The stigma of the whispers is, oh, they got here because of affirmative action. No way. Many made it just fine on their own, thanks, based on excellence, determination, intelligence, and natural talent. And when the numbers showed there is a disparity in African American students due to legitimate lack of financial resources and inherent family wealth, the government and society steps up and gives a helping hand regarding education, not charity. The present administration included $46 billion invested in predominantly black colleges to pay a portion of minority student tuition fees. That's a good thing. I'll also note the previous administration did the same thing. Yeah, but it was so long ago. Oh my goodness. Days. So just when you think you have a positive note, the current leader of the free world lights another beauty that stinks like post-sauerkraut. Terrorism from white supremacists is the most lethal threat in the homeland, not ISIS, not Al-Qaeda. What a unifying state. Don't you just feel like a warm hug? Goodness gracious. Yes, what happened at the Capitol was wrong, but that was an isolated incident, and one that is in no way a greater threat than ISIS or Al-Qaeda. I guess we shouldn't mention Iran, China, the Russians, ransomware, and Hunter's toxic, politically lethal laptop contents. Is that really his, are those emails and photos, is that the big guy? Shh, quiet. If you listen to the left, it sounds like the 6% increase in African Americans who voted red in 2016 and the 20% increase on top of that in 2020 got it all wrong. To borrow a phrase, come on, man. See, they realized real change. But when African Americans speak up and state their truth, they're called an Uncle Tom, chastised, and told they're abandoning their race, receiving severe racial backlash. Ask Candace Owen, Deneen Borelli, Stacey Dash, or former Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark. Take, for instance, the doctor, who in a podcast said that he believed that structural racism does not exist anymore. The result? The mob forced the editor of the prestigious Journal of the American Medical Association to resign. Nice work, guys. Years of valuable medical education and insight gone. The last Red administration saw African American unemployment under 5.4% in 2019, the lowest ever. And today, mean income for African Americans is up over 15%. There was real judicial reform, investment in predominantly black colleges and universities. And for those New York cable news pundits talking about voter suppression, let's talk about the Bronx and across New York, where the city paper reports that 13,000 people had their ballots disqualified. In addition, you ready for this? 26% in Queens and 21% in Brooklyn. And the New York primary election may take 3 weeks to come to a decision on their count. Such great work. It's ironic they even dare to talk about election reform. And voter ID? Well, in Europe, it's the norm and considered an essential part of, ready for this, don't get upset, election integrity. 47 European countries use voter ID, with the exception of the UK. And on that point, Boris Johnson has tabled a vote to make voter ID in the UK mandatory like the rest of Europe. Did you know that 74% of European countries ban absentee voting due to fraud? And any that take absentee voting in special cases require third-party verification, while another 15% demand voter ID for absentee ballots. Those Europeans, such suppression. So come 2022 and 2024, the issues that will dominate the next cycle of elections will be the color divide or critical race theory, voting laws, crime stats out of control while defunded police cities are suffering, rampant immigration, where an estimated 2 million illegal aliens will be embedded in the U.S. by 2022. That'll cost a couple of shekels to fix. So I predict, as the current Principate tries to build his golden house of debt and racial division, like Rome, it will all fall, as people will take the path of political reparation and the return to a fair, logical democracy. And finally, please click and share, and if you do, kindly subscribe. If you leave a comment, I try to answer everyone. I thank you for those considerations. Until next time, God bless and stay safe. I'm Michael A. Charbon for Below the 49.